So what I want us to do is to start becoming more conscious, start choosing things in a better way for ourselves, and start creating a life that's going to gear us to really take advantage of the opportunities that are going to show up for us in the years to come.
This podcast is brought to you by The Integrated Human. We work up, down, inside out to plug yourself into your potential. If you want to see what we are up to and what's next, sign up to our newsletter or follow us on social media. If you like what we are doing, we really appreciate it if you can like our post on social media and YouTube and help us grow.
All right. Welcome to the Big and Small Podcast. I'm Jason Shields and I'm big.
And I'm Marit and I'm the tiny one.
Wow. Back in the seat.
Hot seat.
Yep. So
actually warm.
Yeah. Well, you have two hot beverages with you.
I didn't say it was warm coming in. When I think back, I was freezing when I got in. Now, very warm.
Nice.
Yes.
Good. Energy's there. So we've been having the mastermind group, which I love. The mastermind group are people who want to take their experience to a whole nother level. The people who've been to our events.
Or Flow State Continuum events.
That's it. And they've experienced the flow and want more of it. You know, and we were talking about connecting the mind and the heart.
Yes.
Right? And the resource that your mind has is attention. So, you know, we've talked about this before, but if you imagine a football field, the football field is a representation for the amount of information that's basically bombarding you all the time, right? And the postage stamp is how much your operational memory and functioning mind, conscious awareness, can be focused on at any one time. So how important is it for you to use that resource in a positive way?
Extremely important.
Very important. And also understanding, doing some self-work to figure out whether you're using filters that then also guide that attention somewhere. You know, because we talk about being people who work up, down, inside out. That means that your highest goals and ambitions, your worldview, affects your philosophy, affects your mind, and then your mind fixes what you want to be aware of, and then you charge that with emotional energy, and then you do it. Whereas a lot of people have emotional programs that they're running that put filters on the way they see the world. So people who are heavily depressed, for example, are generally not looking for opportunities to be happier, right? So they're looking often for all the reasons they could be depressed in a way to justify the feeling that they're holding. And I think that's very interesting that when we start doing this kind of work, people start discovering things about themselves. And the whole concept of inside out or outside in, you know, we talk a little bit about, okay, if your neighbor's doing something and you start to do it, though if it's not something that fits your worldview, that's an outside in thing, right? A lot of
getting influence from the outside to do something that is not necessarily something you want to do.
That's it. Exactly. So, for example, I was talking to one of the great athletes that we know, and he was saying, you know, my friends call me up and they want me to go out and go have fun and pick up ladies and all this stuff, but I'm just not interested. I just, that doesn't fit me where I am in my life. I want to sit on this sofa and read Socrates. I want to become a larger, wider human being. I don't want to spend my time doing what I did when I was 20 years old. And that's very interesting because, you know, if he gets pulled out partying, then he's doing something from the outside in, right? And the thing is that we're often bound by society in that, well, if I don't participate in what they're doing, then I'm going to lose contact with them and I love them. Therefore, I do things that I don't like because I want to hang out with them, right? But in reality, it just demands one tiny drop of creativity to connect with those people in a different setting, right? You don't necessarily only have to hang out with them when they're out womanizing and partying. You could be hanging out, inviting them to eat, people like to eat, and have a cool conversation. And maybe you find that several of them also are interested in philosophy or whatever, or even be that person who's introducing them to something more than just, doing what young, hungry men do. Yeah. So it's just an interesting thing that, looking from the inside out, but that also demands that you kind of spend time figuring out what is your worldview, what is your personal philosophy, and what do you want?
But I think that's why we have the Focus Continuing weekends, and but that's kind of every half year. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's important to have like a mastermind group or. So what we're creating with the mastermind group is that we're creating a peer group of people, so they can stay in contact with the process at least once a month. I know from my own experience that if it's not scheduled, then it doesn't happen because it's other thing takes the time and you are tired and you don't. It's kind of why do you have a personal trainer? Well, you have a personal trainer so you're sure that you get to work out. You have something that you have a meeting is scheduled. It's not you to you, but it's you to your personal trainer. You have scheduled with this group, and it's really helpful.
Have eyes on you.
Something have eyes on you, and then most of us are bosses everywhere and in or all out. Even when you are not the boss at work, you're still boss on something, and you're a boss at home, and you have to carry yourself all the time. But if you go to a group like the mastermind, or you have a personal trainer, then for that hour, those 2 hours, you have someone that watching you and hold the space for you, so you can just do what you're gonna do, if that's to meditate or if it's to train.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really helpful. And then you do a deep dive over several days every half year, and then use the next half year to work with that content and have sessions.
Exactly.
It's really helpful. And I talked to one of the guys that went to the last Flow State event where we talked a lot about the worldview and kind of opened up a lot of doors for him. And we had an interesting conversation, and I'm wondering your answer to this question, because like you taught me, and that is that if you don't know what to do something good.
Yeah.
And I'm working now on something else, which is when you don't know what to feel, find something to enjoy.
Yes. Beautiful.
And that's kind of when you're kind of in the, how to say, the phase where you don't know, you don't care, you don't. So that's kind of okay. But then I was talking to this guy, and he's a young man in his 30s. He's super successful. Started his self-development, self-discovery in like 4 or 5 years ago. Been following us the whole time and have had a great results.
Yeah.
But now he's comfortable.
Yeah.
And he makes a lot of money. Want to make more.
Yeah.
But
doesn't need to
doesn't need
more.
to, and it doesn't make a big of a change. And if it's gonna make more money, we're taking it, like if it's gonna matter, you're talking
has to double it.
Double it. Like you have to hit 5 million. If not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Two 400,000 back and forth it doesn't matter. It doesn't give anything.
I think I knew who this person is, and not only that, but that person's colleagues are having to get extra jobs in stores because they're not making a living. Yeah,
so he's doing very well. He has a good home life. He has cracked so many eggs, because we say that it's in this rumor that says an egg is broken from the inside out.
Yeah, I like that.
Because then that's how the life.
Hatching potential.
Yeah, you're hatching potential, and last year he has blown through some eggs that I don't think we knew he could. And the thing is, he's only tapped into maybe 1/10 of his potential, and he knows it, but he doesn't know it.
Yeah.
So everything's very comfortable.
Yeah.
And it would be, say that you have to follow me. So say that you are severely overweight. So you should lose 60 kilos.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to find a reason to lose 60 kilos. You know you should, but losing 10 doesn't matter, because you're still then 50 kilos overweight. And I know that if you had for 2 minutes, you got to feel how it was to have lost that weight.
Yeah.
And then you get to put on the weight again, you wouldn't have any issues to do that.
Yeah. You'd be like,
Same,
oh.
because you see the difference.
Yeah.
You got to see it, watch it, feel. That's what that is. That's worth it. I'm willing to do the job to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy, he's tapped into 1/10 of his potential, but he doesn't necessarily know that. We can see it. He doesn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And he's comfortable.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? How do you deal with being comfortable? He's doing everything right, donkey ears.
Yeah.
Right?
Ish. Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
there's
yeah,
not...
Yeah.
Like, he said he has so many things that he should do.
Yeah, but there's no real motivation or drive.
No real motivation or drive to do them because will it make a difference?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And everything's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you want to, but like I said, even if you make... Before, it was a lot of drive to hit that number, hit 2.5 million or something. But you hit that now. And to get that rush again, you need 4.
Yeah.
But to get 4, that requires a lot more work. And you're kind of not happy with making 200,000 more, for instance. Like, where to go when you're comfortable?
That's a very good question. So there's a lot of things here. So we're just going to have to start breaking down these things and one after one, right?
Hit it.
So when everything is the same, do something good, which means that if you feel like you can't find meaning in your life, do something good. If you're not sure what to do something good. If everything looks the same, do something good.
You can always evaluate what can be good.
What can be good, right? Because and there are a lot of waiting periods in our life. Because we're talking about a waiting period. He's in a waiting period right now. Okay, so that's there are waiting periods in our life. It's kind of like you train for a while physically and you hit a plateau. It's kind of like I lost the weight to a certain extent, and now my body doesn't want to let go of any more weight.
Yeah.
And now it's really hard.
And I know I should lose maybe 15 more to be healthy and be out of diabetes and stuff.
But now it's hard. It went fast to begin with, and now it's hard.
Yeah.
So, and is it really worth it? The difference between, for example, being, 80 pounds or 40 kilos overweight and being 5 kilos overweight or 10 pounds overweight. If you're 80 pounds or 40 kilos overweight, my friends, you need to lose weight, and you need to lose the weight, and your health is better, and you're going to live longer and be able to pick up your kids, and there's a whole bunch of good things there. But when you're like 5 pounds, 10 pounds overweight, compared to what, right? Is it your Instagram feed telling you need to be thinner? Is it what? I mean, you're not going to notice it in the stairs. Nobody's going to notice it on you when you're walking around, probably.
Are you actually going to feel anything different?
Yeah, and weirdly enough, this is it. Have you heard of the 80-20 principle?
Is there a book on that thing?
Yeah, there's a book, right? And the 80-20 principle, you guys should check it out if you haven't checked it out. It's one of those things, it's a weird thing, and business owners know this. If you go to a grocery store, they set the grocery store up scientifically because they know that there are 20% of the things in the grocery store that everybody buys.
Milk being one of them.
Milk being one of them, right? And chocolate, candy and such, unfortunately. But there's 20% of the stuff that people are going to buy. The rest of it, some people buy. So if you look at what they sell, 80% of what they sell is the 20% of those products that everybody buys. Make sense? Diapers, that kind of stuff, right? There's just that relationship. So 80% of the income of that store is 20% of the products. The same thing at a workplace. If you have customers coming in, it's the 20% of the customers that make 80% of the problems. And also 20%, the other 20%, that give you 80% of the pleasure and joy because they're amazing. You look forward to them every time coming in, and you're like, oh, I look forward to all my customers coming in. Yeah, me too. But if you think about how much work you have to do with some, and how fun it is and how much they appreciate you, and you look at the way it is with the other ones, there's going to be 20% that are always maybe a little more rascally or difficult or demanding or not satisfied or whatever, just what it is. So in your life, you get to a point where it's going to cost you 80% more effort to get the last 20%. And in fact, it may even cost you 90% more effort over that to get the last 2%. So the difference between being one of the best in the world and being the best in the world is a big jump, guys.
Yeah, that's 90%.
That's 90%. It's kind of like you have crap. You have less crap. You know, you have not bad. You have good. And you have pretty good. And then you have excellent. Like
all the way up.
it's in terms of energy use, guys. Now, in terms of difference, the difference between excellent and good is like, it's like this much, but the amount of energy it takes to pop that barrier is so much more. So in a way, this is nature's way, first, of sorting the people who really want it. Okay. That's number one. And number two, it also keeps us well-rounded. So there's a healthy mechanism in it. So let's say that, I'm starving. I want to not starve. So I start working and I start making some money. I'm not starving. That's good. But then I realize I need a car. So you get yourself a car. Good. Okay, well, I want a better house because I'd like to have a mate and a family. Okay, good. You get that. Super duper. Now what? You get to a certain amount of money and it's enough, quote unquote. If I'm going to take another jump, if I'm going to now I don't have to go to work. I have, in America, we call it fuck you money, where it's like, hey, I got money, and if I don't want to deal with you, I just pay somebody to take care of you. Fuck it, So in order to go from, I got enough money,
comfortable.
I'm comfortable. I'm paying my bills.
That I think is one of the key word is comfortable.
Yeah, I'm comfortable waiting a couple of weeks before I get the new thing that I wanted.
Because you still get it.
I still get it.
And what's the difference between today and a week or two?
Week, yeah, exactly. I've, in my life, hung out with people who have a whole lot of money. Like people who, live in the middle of America and they fly to New York to get their hair cut and they fly to Los Angeles in a high-speed jet that they own to eat pizza, okay? People who have money. They don't have less stress than everybody else, my friends, just so you know that. They have money issues, but in a different direction because they're constantly having to deal with the people who are dealing with their money. And that's also stress. And once you've been super rich, by the way, the fear of being poor again is horrific. You think they walk around with no issues? They walk around with tons of issues because once you're used to a certain lifestyle, this is the problem. You don't ever want to go down in lifestyle. Going up in lifestyle is super good. And that's actually why you should protect yourself a little bit, because if you give yourself too much, to take the step back is horrific, right? So keeping us well-rounded, nature's constantly asking you, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Right? So you see how I'm working myself in on this issue.
I think it's very fascinating because it's you hit that plateau,
You do.
And comfortable it doesn't lead to development because you're comfortable.
Yeah.
And your whole body being wants to be comfortable.
Yeah. It's that's where you kind of find, in a way, a certain type of rest.
Or you create shit.
Well,
to get uncomfortable. Then build it up again. And we kind of want to avoid that.
Yes.
That you have to go down to go up again. We kind of just want to find acceptance in comfortable.
Yep.
And then find the key to continue working.
Exactly. And that's what you just said there was genius. And that's actually a very good cycle, because everybody, and I know we talk sometimes about athletics, but this applies to life. Everybody who's ever dieted knows that it feels freaking great to lose the weight and people go, oh, hey, you're looking good. Oh my God. Oh, what are you doing something different? I mean, what's happening? Did you get your hair cut? No, you lost 10 pounds. Oh my gosh. Oh, you lost 20 pounds. Oh my God. Oh, losing the weight and feeling better is great. But once you're there, it's almost worth it gaining the weight again so you can lose it again. Because the process of progress, evolution feels so damn good. And actually, Aristotle talks about that. The meaning of life is progress. That is happiness. Happiness is progress. So if you're not feeling progress, sometimes the built up energy that you're not using, because you can't really figure out where it's going to be worth it to use it, creates shit, and you start doing things that wreck your life. Correct.
You have to rebuild yourself.
So that you can rebuild yourself, just like gaining the weight to lose it again, right? So it's like this constant like renewing of your life. Now, part of this mechanism, when it's used in a healthy way, will get you to work to a certain point that you've kind of, okay, you have shelter, you have a career, you have your education, you have friends enough, you have the clothes that are right enough, and all of this. And it allows you to start looking, hopefully, inside yourself so that you can evolve as a human being. But very many of us continue to look outside, and people who live a simple life always just want a bigger, better car, faster car, better suits. You know, that's one of the addictions of the material world. But at some point, you start getting tired of that as well. And usually for men, it hits you around 40, 50 years old. That's like the midlife crisis. You start realizing that, yeah, they get the hot rod and they get all this stuff and a new girlfriend, or they collapse their life. But that's just to figure out, was what I chose right or not? But then they get past that spot and they start figuring out that what they really need is internal work. Because it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how many girlfriends you have or boyfriends you have. It doesn't matter how much dingle dangle and bling
Shit.
bling and stuff you have. You're not happy. And even if you're super, super wealthy, you're not happy. You find other reasons to be unhappy because you're unhappy inside, and you project that out. So the question is, what do you do when you're not motivated to continue to supercharge your life? The question is, should you continue to look for a new arena to challenge yourself in, to become more well-rounded? Or shall you do more work on the inside to try to figure out what your worldview is and enrich your inside life?
And then I can have a follow-up question to that.
Yeah.
Because, like we said, on the last Full State, we talked a lot about worldview. And people walking up from there, well, some of them just kind of, they're just seeing like their head was just
Broken.
and in a good way, because
Yeah.
you're
Of
opening
course.
up, but they're just going, and how do you start finding your worldview?
That's a good question. Well, first of all, people very often are either seers, they're all in their head and they want to understand the world. They're feelers, they're beers. We call them beer yogis. They basically are emotional human beings and basically live in the garden of emotion. Or they're people who like just getting stuff done and doing stuff and being excellent and having everything in place. I mean, everybody of us knows a person like that. But regardless of where you live, you have all of them, right? There's nobody who doesn't do anything. And everybody has some feeling, even if they're relatively disconnected with their feelings and they walk around feeling like a robot. They have a lot of unconscious things that are going on, and you can always see that on them as well. They may not have contact with it. And then you have people who are making decisions and making beliefs and ideas around things, even though they're like, oh, I don't think, I only feel and do. Well, that's not true, because you feel a certain way because of the thoughts that you had around it and the ideas and the rules that you made for yourself. And that all came from your head. So when I asked people, do you have a personal philosophy? Everybody looks shocked. I'm like, who here's ever thought about what their personal philosophy is? And they're like, well, I don't have a philosophy. Yes, you do. You choose things based on your rules or your personal philosophy. What are your rules? I have no idea. So what do you think about people getting educational? Oh, I think they should, you start asking them questions and they know what they believe. They know what they think about their lives, right? But they've never actually consciously looked at that and figured out what part of their personal philosophies actually are theirs and which one have they gotten from their mothers and fathers and teachers and preachers. And now, unfortunately, Instagram, TikTok. Now, a whole nother level over your personal philosophy is your worldview. Now, that's a whole nother level. So if you don't know what your personal philosophy is and you don't have an idea of who you are as a person, my friends, don't even worry about your worldview yet, because you got to work that other stuff out first. Because if your idea is that you want to drive fast in the world, you first have to make sure that your wheels are on the road. And your personal philosophy, or what you yourself are making happen in your life and choosing specifically in the moment.
But that then is not necessarily comfortable to look at, because then you have to actually confront. Because if you say, do you want to have, do you care about the planet? Yes. Would you stop driving your car? No.
Exactly.
Because we have to, I assume in that process, you have to be extremely honest with yourself.
Yes.
And because if you're not, you're going to get the wrong answer. Yeah. And then you have to look at the answers and accept them or change them.
Yeah. That's it.
To what you actually want.
Yes, exactly. And this is the interesting thing. This is the very interesting thing, because when you find those conflicts, like, of course I would save the planet. Of course save the planet. Well, first of all, you never save the planet. You save yourself on the planet. The planet will be here long after all life is dead anyway. Heads up. Just newsflash. But you want to be nature friendly, but at the same time you're driving your big diesel truck.
And I want to go to Spain.
And you want to go to Spain.
With a plane.
With a plane.
Although it's not a private one, it's a plane.
And exactly.
And I want all-inclusive.
I want all-inclusive, and I also want to use razors that I can just use twice and throw away.
Yes, it's more convenient.
More convenient, right? So those things are an indication of what your worldview is.
Yeah, and I always forget to bring me my grocery bags. So I always buy one.
Plastic. You always get plastic bags.
Yes.
Exactly. And those are things that, okay, if you make room in your life, if you change your life in a way that you're remembering your plastic bags, then you're also pushing something else out of the way. This is the interesting thing, because you may be hurting the world more by not doing the other stuff that you would have to push to the side in order for you to put in your routine to remember the plastic sack. So sometimes the plastic sack, though, when the tires, when your eyes are on it right there and then, it's not as economical as having the sacks. But if you were going to remember your sacks, you'd change your routine in a way that maybe pushes something else out.
I need to drive 15 minutes more in my car every day.
For example. Exactly. You have to go up to the house and back down, and that's going to cost you more gas.
Because I have exact amount of money for the exact amount of food I'm going to buy, so exactly. I can't use €1 on bag.
Yeah, for example. Yeah, like there's always a push and a pull, right? There's a certain amount of time, space, and equipment and thought and energy that it's available, and sometimes the role that you're playing doesn't allow. It's kind of like, this is a thing, for example, seeing how things are actually connected. And these things, looking at your personal philosophy in your life and what you're choosing and the things that don't make sense, show you actually something about yourself, but also show you, not that you're a bad person and that you don't make sense, but maybe show you the ways things are put together in your life, right? So
Actually start to take charge in your own life and look at decisions you're making.
Yeah, look at the decision you're making, which may be perfect in relationship to the situation, maybe not, right? So the fact that you and I are getting up super early to write books pushes something else out of the way, which is called sleep.
Yes.
Right? So, I mean, think about this. So, no, just as an idea, we're writing books and we're here early in the morning, right? Which means that we're not getting as much sleep during the week, which means that we're more or less tired in the weekends.
More.
Yeah, we're more tired in the weekends, which means that if it's not super exciting on TV or the movie, and I'm sitting with Steve at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night on Friday after training, I'm going to go to sleep on this sofa and she's going to have to wake me up. And it's not because I don't appreciate her as a human being. It's not that I devaluate my wife, but it's just there's a certain amount of resources available. And I'm hoping that the books we're writing will serve humanity in a way that will compensate for the fact that I sleep on the sofa on Friday evenings.
So in 5 years, you can actually have more time to spend with your wife.
With my wife, and maybe even get more sleep.
Yes.
Right? So it's about these things, but then it has to do with my personal philosophy is that I want to serve humanity. I'm making a choice, right? But my worldview is that I am put here to participate and to give. That's my worldview. I'm making the personal philosophical choice to do that with a book and write. And I'm making the sacrifice of getting up early, right? So that's kind of like the funnel down. I didn't necessarily think
that you were going to fall asleep at Friday evening.
Exactly. And then I show up at the grocery store and I forgot my bags. Well, why? Well, because I left the house super freaking early in the morning and I don't want to wake my wife up. So I don't want to rummage around, and it's hard for me super early in the morning when it's day after day after day to remember the fact that I'm going to take my bags with me. And then I end up buying groceries and having to buy plastic bag. But if I make a lot of people better with the book, which I believe is going to happen, and when I say better, meaning living more efficiently and having to buy less stuff to make them happy because stuff doesn't make you happy, you're happy and then you have stuff. And if you're happy from before, then you don't become a consumer. You become a person who's supporting nature, which is going to save a lot of buying and consumerism and plastic. So what's better and worse? You see, that's the thing.
Yeah, but okay. If you have then, we have drive.
Yeah, we do.
We don't use motivation. That is kind of
motivation is crap.
What you talked about yesterday, NOS. The one in the Fast and Furious, you push the button. And
the nitrous oxide.
Yeah, that's motivation. It gives extra fuel for a tiny period. But I have, I don't know, maybe I have actually a very strong worldview, and I don't.
Yes,
I can go when I know what I want. I go after that. I don't care about motivation or energy or push. I'm going there.
Yeah.
No matter what it costs.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what do you do? So say, if you listen to the podcast, I went boldly out and meditated 1 hour a day, no, 2 hours a day in August last year. Then something happened, which I'm writing up about in the book, for instance, and my life just crumbled inside of me, and I lost all orientation about who and what I am and my purpose and everything. And I started meditating for a while, and then I started again and found a sustainable way to do that. So now I have, for instance, an alarm at 20:30 every evening telling me you should have done something spiritual and meditative today. If you have done it, good. If not, do it now. I don't care if it's 2 minutes or an hour. Something. It can be breath, it can be music, it can be guided. There's no rules. It's just about finding connection, at least for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So I kind of find a way to work around that. But say that you should meditate, but then you don't do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Again, you're comfortable. You should. And but you don't do it. And you don't have any drive. You don't because you don't necessarily have a contact with your worldview. Like you're not put here for. You don't know why you're put here. How do you do that? Should because like I said, then you should is the inside work. How do you? Because you can sign up for like a mastermind group and a flow state continuum and trauma releasing exercises. How do you do the should every day?
You see, this is a very interesting thing. This is a super good question, because when you know that it's something that's good that you should do, and when everything's the same,
Then
do
do
something
something good.
then you set yourself up, not through motivation, you set yourself up so you have to do it. Meaning that, for example, I've done pretty well in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty well. You're world champion 3 times. Shut the fuck up.
Thank you. But yeah, I've gotten some success there. You've never met a person who's lazier than me. I don't like to have to do stuff regularly, though I do very much stuff regularly.
We have the most copy-paste lifestyle ever.
Yeah.
No one
right?
has. I don't think there is many people that have a more copy-paste lifestyle than us.
That's true, right? Because I set myself up so that I must, or it's just the natural thing to do. So
you will dig a ditch in front of your yard. So you have to go down there, and it's a I don't know like a what's it called? So you get electric shots if you haven't meditated for 5 minutes, and then you can go to your car.
Yeah, well,
is that what you should do?
Kind of. We'll get back to that one. So the example that I use with my patients who don't want to train. So basically, if you look at people who have memberships in gyms, about 11% of people use them. Everybody else.
It's 80-20 rule, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually close, and it's almost a little worse than the 80-20.
So.
Like it's horrible. It's like 90-10 almost. But the point is that people get the membership and then they disappear. But there's 11% that train. They're self-motivated. They just have that inside them. I don't have that for training. So, and this is going to sound weird because everybody knows I train pretty much every day, right? Even when I'm injured, I still train. So I found out that, I'm not the person who's going to train by myself. So I have to find some way of training with people. So I'm like, we have to pick a sport that I have to train with people. So I played a lot of team sports, right? So a lot of team sports. And I'll show up for a while because they want to train with me. I want to train with them. But after a while, I kind of start to find other things that I'm interested in. I'm very curious about stuff, and I will go somewhere else, and suddenly I'm doing something completely different. They maybe called me up a couple times. Hey, bro, you coming? Nah, not this time. And then suddenly they forget that I was there, and I'm out. So then you realize, okay, that doesn't work for me. Not only am I going to have to find something to train, have people that I have to show up for, but I'm going to have some blackmail against myself. I'm going to get a gym where I only have the key. I have the only key. So if I don't show up, not only are people not training, but they're pissed. They call me up. Like, I have the only key. Like, so for a long time in jiu-jitsu, I was the only person who had a key. So I had to show up for every training, which I did. And I always do, right? So on top of that, because I sometimes was not motivated, I'm like, shit, there's only 4 people coming today, or I have this thing, and I probably could just send a message and say there's no training today and cancel it. How many times have I done that?
Never.
And that was because I'm like, okay, I found a reason that worked with my personal philosophy and my worldview is that I want to help. I want to do something good and good globally. So I know that we're in a small town and we have a small club, and I want all of the people for all the years after I'm done with jiu-jitsu to know that they can become a world champion in VOS, because then I've done something good. My personal philosophy is then I can show the way. And I'm always saying, you want to teach stuff, shut up and do it first. And that's what I've always done. I've always shut the fuck up and just done it, and then figured out how I did it. And then I start to teach people. I really don't like it when people are teaching stuff that they don't know and they don't do. So I did it myself. So I pushed myself to become world champion, not once, but several times, and European champion several times. And all the time, this was just so that I could make sure that I was going to what?
The training.
Go to training. And I got in great shape. So
how to do this in a slightly different scale.
Yeah, right. But this is the thing. It has to do because I am conscious of my worldview and my personal philosophy. I was able to leverage myself, and you have very strong contact with that.
Yeah, and I leverage myself all the time.
All the time.
I know things that I do and things that I do not do.
Yeah.
And
which is plus minus healthy.
Plus minus healthy, but I know kind of how to leverage myself, and I know that I will. So say that you're gonna promise something. Mm-hmm. Well, if I make a promise to myself, I don't keep it necessarily. It's not that important. Like if you're gonna eat healthy, well, I don't care.
But you make a promise to me.
But if I tell you, because with you I can't break my word, because words with you are law.
Yeah,
if you say it, we do it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's mine with you. Yeah. With Eirik, my husband, we have. If we kiss on it, it can't be broken.
Oh, that's cute. I love that.
If you say it, doesn't matter.
But you kiss on it?
But you kiss on it, it's serious. You don't break the kiss.
Oh, I like that.
So if I'm going to leverage myself for real, like you're going to do this thing no matter what, then I tell you and I kiss Eirik on it.
Yeah.
Because I can't break those two.
Exactly.
Because that is not allowed to do.
Yeah, because that means that you have a personal philosophy that creates the rules of behavior. Those are the rules with these different people.
Yeah.
And that's your personal philosophy, right?
Yeah, because I know, and I can leverage myself to, and that was also if I can make an agreement with myself on, is it one thing you're going to do, is that thing. Like now I know that 2030, but because it's not agreement with others, I do that 80% of the time.
Yeah. Exactly. And this is a very, very cool thing. This has to do with your knowledge of who you are as a person, right? Has to do with your inner work.
But when you don't know what your leverage is,
then you have to figure it out. Then you have to come to an event, or you have to start.
Can you start making a list?
Yeah, you can. You can make lists.
I don't know.
But you actually have to watch yourself. There's sometimes there's nothing other than actually being aware and looking. You have to actually look at yourself.
Then the last question for today. How do you start? So say that for a week, this is my task for the week, that I'm gonna start looking at my decisions. Where do I start? How do I do it? Do you start with, I choose to wake up at 5:30. I choose to not have breakfast. I choose to have coffee at, how do you do that? Is that you make a list, or
of what?
My decisions. I choose to wake up.
Yeah. Well, I would.
And then you look at all the decisions.
Yeah.
Or
I would. That's a good question. That's a beautiful question. In art, you start big, and then you go small. You start vague, and then you go specific. Okay.
So work. What have you chosen as work?
What are your choices? What are your choices? The friends that you've chosen, the work that you've chosen, the decisions, and how you live. So you can break your time up in work, free time, and sleep. Most people have a third of each, and then you can look at the big things, and then you can start to break it down into what are my personal routines and what are my habits. So life choice. Then you have routines, and then you have your smaller habits.
So, and the difference between a routine and habits?
Routine is that I work out 3 days a week. My habit is that I always eat skyr instead of yogurt because skyr has more protein. Understand? It's like your routine and a habit. A habit's kind of like the things that you do completely at the moment. Whereas your routines is something you can say I do every week.
Yeah, so the routine will be scheduled.
Yeah,
it's in a
scheduled.
way, but the habits has to do with if you choose sausage or fish.
Yeah, that's it.
I always choose sausage because I'm allergic to fish, or I don't like fish, or But if that's on Wednesday or once a month, Yeah, that's just how you choose your stuff.
It's how you choose your stuff. Exactly.
Yeah.
And based on your routines and your habits, that's more personal philosophy stuff. More your over grand view is going to be somewhat related to personal philosophy and somewhat related to a worldview. You know, it's kind of like personal philosophy. I got an education because I felt that was the way that I could leverage my personal power in order to become more successful. That's a belief. A lot of people never get an education and they're super successful, but it's a belief that I have that's been given to me. It's part of my personal philosophy. But my worldview is that I want to help. And that's why I would want to leverage myself to become as successful as I can. Therefore, I got my thought was to get an education so that I could do more good. Right.
But then if you look at your personal philosophy and you go, I took an education because, well, I don't know why, because
Frank did.
Yeah, everybody else did.
Exactly.
Or my mom told me I should because she wanted me to have a better life. But I don't know if I'm happy with my education.
Yeah. Yeah, I got an education. I got a job I hate. I make some money, but I fucking hate it.
But then you take that
Yeah.
and you start looking at that, for instance, and you start, okay, what if I could choose over again, which you can, because every day is a new day and you die and get reborn every day.
Yeah.
You choose.
That's it.
So you then can make a new decision.
Yeah, exactly. You can make a new decision if you like. So, for example, I love being a chiropractor. I love it. I love doing the flow state continuum events. I love it. I love the mastermind. I love it. It's kind of like I have to fight with what's more favorite, you know? And I get to work with you. It's amazing. My life is amazing. But let's say that I woke up one day and I'm like, you know what? This chiropractic stuff's not for me anymore. I'm dumping it. Done. Boom. Right? Now, I shouldn't expect that if I just walk out the door that I'm qualified for something else. I'm going to have to go to school for something else.
Yeah, what I would recommend then is that, so I would say that if you have then, I'm not happy with this. Well, what if I can, so I have the job that I hate. It's not, this is not a true story, by the way. Let's say you have a job that you hate. Well, if I reduce this to 50%, and what I really is interested in is in graphic design.
Yeah.
I work as a lawyer,
Exactly.
but my passion is graphic design.
That's it.
So what if because we do have to understand that we do have a physical world, and we don't want to wreck our lives, and a process should be internal and build you, not make you sell everything around you. Mm-hmm. So then you see if you can drop your work to 50% and then use the other 50% on becoming a graphic designer.
Yes.
Because then you're making a choice.
And because you're so fired up about being a graphic designer, not only are you going to be amazing at it, but guess what? It's more fun to be a lawyer because you know being a lawyer pays for your education as a
graphic designer.
Exactly. So you end up loving your life even more. Even the things you didn't like before, you love more because it builds you towards what you want. That's it. You see, that's the whole point. And then there's a whole nother level of this stuff. When you really get into your worldview, and I'll leave you guys with this. When you're a young person, you're always thinking, how much can I be? How big can I get? How much can I get? But as you get older and wiser, and that can happen when you're 15 or 50, you start figuring out, how little do I need in order to be happy? How little do I need in order to be well? It's not about how much, because you have what you want. You know what your limits are. But after a while, you realize no matter where they put you, you could be happy. So remember, you matter. Unless you multiply yourself by the speed of light squared, then you're energy. But if you can't be energy, matter.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. We hope you felt we added something to your day and hopefully your life. If you want to learn more, subscribe to our newsletter and find us at integrated-human.com. That is integrated-human.com. Integrated Human on YouTube and other social media platforms. Have a great day, and thank you again for listening. Love, light, and upgrade from us at the Integrated Human team.